Welcome back. This is Monty once again from DPL Surveillance Equipment. We're a full service surveillance and security equipment company. We have lifetime guarantees and warranties on all the products. We have 24/7, 365 tech sales and customer support. We have perhaps the largest inventory of items that not only can you buy, but you can rent and layaway as well. And we have perhaps the largest video library. That's a video demonstration library, and we have probably the largest articles directory. In addition to the video library where you can watch us demonstrate the trackers, the Nanny cameras, the listening devices, audio recorders, tracking devices, you name it, bug detectors. You can also peruse the extensive articles directory and take a look at such esoteric topics such as um, you name it, electronic harassment and prevention, cell phone interception, GPS jammers and blockers, um, surveillance interception, and spy phone prevention, etc., etc. You name it, we have it there on the website, and we're available 24/7, 365. Just in case I forgot to mention that, we're available 24/7, 365. We have uh, around the clock tech sales and customer support. So, but this particular session here really has more to do with cybersecurity. We're finding that a lot of our customers are just as much concerned about cybersecurity as they are about physical security. So there's a lot of overlap. When you want to know what's going on with security online, and then you probably want to also make sure that you're covered offline and vice versa, because what happens online a lot of times translates into the real world. People who are predators online, they end up stalking you offline, and if it starts, if it's offline, then people find out information about you, and before you know it, they're compromising your personal information, et cetera, online. So there is a lot of overlap, and we're learning that we really want to see if we can address those cyber-related issues, just like we address issues in the physical world. There's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of analogies that allow us to leverage what we're learning in the physical security space and apply that in the cyberspace. Now, this particular session is called, we name all of them Cybersecurity Newsflash, and this one is the episode is called Donald Trump's email servers and other security failures. Again, that's Donald Trump's email servers and other security failures. We're not picking on anyone. We're not taking a political side, but we just want to illustrate security-related issues. And Donald Trump is, of course, in the news, just like Hillary Clinton is in the news. And there's an article where a researcher by the name of Kevin Beaumont, and let's see if we can cover some of the specifics in terms of what Kevin Beaumont, what he found. So this article goes something like this. When Hillary Clinton's private email server was hacked earlier this year, she was criticized for her bad security practices that exposed top security documents stored in emails on that private server. The FBI called her behavior extremely careless. This is according to Donald Trump. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump and his supporters are continuously criticizing Clinton's use of a private email server. And here's what Trump lectured in a debate about cybersecurity. We're quoting Donald Trump here. The security aspect of cyber is very, very tough, and maybe it's honestly doable. Maybe it's hardly doable. But I will say we are not doing the job we should be doing, but that's true throughout our whole government society. We have so many things that we have to do better, Lester, and certainly cyber is one of them. Okay, so that was his quotation. So the article goes on, forget Clinton, Trump has so worryingly insecure, let me repeat this, Trump has so worryingly insecure internet setup that anyone with little knowledge of computers can can expose everything about Trump and his campaign. So he's saying again, let me make sure this is absolutely clear. Trump's email servers and his knowledge of computers really reveals itself here because his email servers, as described in this other paragraph here, puts it pretty simply and plainly. Security researcher Kevin Beaumont, who had a look at the mail servers operated by the Trump Organization, discovered that a number of email servers for Trump's hotels, golf courses, and other businesses are running badly configured, outdated versions of software that receive no security updates, okay, and are lacking other security practices. Several mail servers for the Trump Organization's domain, trumporg.com, are using outdated software, including the operating system Windows Server 2003. Okay, so you heard it right. We're talking about Windows Server 2003 with IIS number 6, or Internet Information Server 6, that comes shipped with it. Okay? Microsoft ended support, you guys, for Windows Server 2003 in July 2015. All right? Microsoft's official website reads this, and you can see this for yourself. Microsoft will no longer issue security updates for any version of Windows Server 2003. If you are still running Windows Server 2003 in your data center, you need to take steps now to plan and execute a migration strategy to protect your infrastructure. Okay, this security disaster makes the Trump Organization's emails vulnerable for hackers who might want to gain access to them. And Kevin Beaumont on his Twitter page, Gossi the dog, Gossi the dog. I think that's his Twitter handle. He's giving you screenshots of what he found as far as when he ran some queries and has some very revealing information for the whole world to see on his Twitter page, Kevin Beaumont on Twitter. If this wasn't enough, Beaumont said the Trump Organization's email service only uses single-factor authentication, which means no two-factor authentication that makes a user link a device to receive an extra login code, which keeps their account more secure. So again, with multi-factor authentication, you typically are going to use your cell phone in addition to a password, so that you get another code sent to your cell phone by text message usually, and then you can log in using two credentials. One is a password typically that you have, and then another one is a text message with typically a 4 to 6, 8, 10 digit code or something that you're going to get as another way of authenticating you. So there's two different factors here, hence the name multi-factor. Beaumont also discovered the Trump Organization's web-based email access page, but it is important to note that Beaumont did not attempt to log into the email system and neither ran any advanced scans on the servers, and rather he only looked at public records and information. So all of this is publicly available. The email access page of the Trump Organization, webmail.trumporg.com, that's webmail.trumporg.com, displays the header for Microsoft Exchange Outlook Web Access, or OWA, and the page's HTML source code reveals that the site is using an outdated application, i.e. March 2015 build of Microsoft Exchange 2007 SP3RU16, which contains a number of known security vulnerabilities, Sean Gallagher of ARS noted. Okay, so that pretty much tells us a whole lot about how this billionaire, what he's paying for versus what he's getting from his own highly technical security team who's managing email service for the Trump Organization. Not very encouraging, I have to admit. But we're not gonna dwell on that forever. We want to move. We want to keep moving along here. And besides what's going on with the Trump email servers, let's see what else do we have. for cybersecurity related information here. Okay, the Internet of Things, of course, is a big topic. And a lot of times, security researchers are talking about the Internet of Things, and we get the impression that, there's nothing we can do. It's a major issue, and the world's going to come to an end any minute. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon and try to frighten you into doing anything, because you probably heard it all. Your smoke detectors, your toasters, your blenders, everything hooked up to the internet. It's a potential problem. We already know that. So what can you do? Okay, this is what you can do. Okay, there's an IoT scanner. Okay, let me repeat this. We have an Internet of Things scanner, BullGuard, BullGuard. You can check if your internet connected devices at home or public on Shodan, Shodan, as in Nancy. That's Shodan. Well, basically, Shodan is a particular website this gentleman came up with, and it allows you to query his database to see whether or not your webcams, your routers, et cetera, are public-facing and accessible over the internet by other people. So again, when you go to Shodan's website, you can literally determine whether or not your company's webcams, your baby cams, your various IoT devices are actually accessible for everyone on the planet to see. Okay, and then I think you pay a small amount if you want the premium service from Shodan. Then you can see very extensively what your network looks like to a hacker. Okay, so yeah, hackers can get into your webcam. Hackers can check out your router information, DVRs, you name it. And Shodan is a very, very enlightening place where you can go and find out whether or not you're listed. Hopefully you're not listed there, and if you are listed there, then you better take advantage of securing those devices immediately. So go to http://iotscanner.bullguard, that's BullGuard.com, and see if you can do a scan on your IoT devices, and hopefully you won't show up in that database, okay? And then there's another resource, okay? ShieldsUP, that's like Shield, SHILD, Shield, SUP, ShieldsUP, like put your shields up, okay? So go to ShieldsUP, okay? They're saying our new perfect passwords facility is used by thousands of people every day to generate ultra high quality random passwords for securing Wi-Fi and other devices. Our weekly Security Now, which is covered by the famous, what's his name, Leo Laporte. He's a well-known expert in the security cyberspace as well. He's been doing this for probably 30 years at least. Leo Laporte, he does Security Now, and so he has podcasts, and he's covered every conceivable security issue you might have. Has MP3 files that you can download, and you can search his database of security-related articles and podcasts, etc., going way back. So check out ShieldsUP and learn how to secure or enhance the security of your network and your routers, etc. And if you have open ports that hackers can use to get access to your network, etc., you want to take advantage of closing those gaping holes. Go to ShieldsUP, okay, as soon as possible. Okay, these are some resources you want to take advantage of right now. So moving right along, we got 4 applications you should blacklist today, okay? So what are these 4 applications that you want to blacklist, okay? Before we get into that, let me see. This reads as follows. This year has been a busy one for cyber criminals. Reports indicate there have been over 500 data breaches and more than 500 million records exposed in 2016 so far. This includes the disclosure of 427 million MySpace records, 68 million Dropbox user records, 117 million user emails and password details at LinkedIn. The healthcare, retail, technology, financial, and governmental sectors had the list of business areas that were the most targeted throughout the year. A major concern is the increasingly complexity of patching systems and applications. Each year, many common vulnerabilities and exposures, or CVEs, that's common vulnerabilities and exposures, otherwise known as CVEs, or Charlie Victor Edwards, are posted on the National Vulnerability Database, which helps alert companies who are using these applications and inform them on the mitigation controls to reduce the risk of using such applications. However, some applications pose a much greater risk, and unless those systems running these applications are locked down significantly, the only alternative options are to blacklist them or remove them completely. Let's take a look at some of these applications. Okay, you guys are going to recognize a lot of these. Apple QuickTime for Windows. Okay, Apple QuickTime is a multimedia framework that was used for handling various digital video formats and was available on multiple platforms for macOS and Windows. The Windows version was also bundled in some versions of iTunes, and also many applications that required QuickTime to play digital content, providing download links to make it easy for someone to quickly install. This year, Apple decided to discontinue support for QuickTime on Windows, okay, not the Mac version, but the Windows, leaving several severe and dangerous security vulnerabilities that a hacker could exploit to take full control of your computer. QuickTime is no longer being updated, and the security flaws or any newly discovered vulnerabilities will unlikely be fixed. This truly means that QuickTime for Windows is dead and should no longer be used. Okay, moving right along. Adobe Flash, Adobe Flash Player. Adobe Flash Player, formerly known as Macromedia Flash or Shockwave, is a multimedia application that helps enrich the experience when browsing the internet and allows streaming of video and audio. It is also used in some desktop applications, mobile applications, and games. However, for many years, Flash has had a very poor record for security and vulnerabilities, and are everywhere with over 400 CVEs. I think we said that was a common vulnerability. Common vulnerability. No, I was going to forget what that means. Common vulnerabilities and exposures. Okay, so there's 400 associated with Adobe Flash Player. Hackers and cyber criminals have been exploiting it for many years, allowing them to listen to your conversations and use your web camera to watch you in your office or your home. Many web browsers have removed support for Flash and stop it from running. However, many companies and consumers are still using older web browsers which allow Flash to run. It's highly recommended to use the latest versions of web browsers and to blacklist Adobe Flash or remove it from your system. I think Apple, I think Microsoft actually has an Edge browser. I'm mostly an Apple person, but I think you can use Microsoft Edge browser, and that will make sure that you're no longer going to be using, for instance, Adobe Flash and having to worry about this particular issue. So you got an older browser, it probably has a plug-in for Flash. You want to remove that extension as soon as possible. Any browser for that matter. It is highly recommended to use the latest version of the web browser to blacklist Adobe Flash. Okay, we said that already. Apple iTunes for Windows. Apple iTunes is a media player, media library, and mobile device management software developed by Apple to organize and manage all of Apple's mobile devices and digital media. It is almost impossible to use an Apple device without requiring the need to use iTunes. However, if you are a Windows user with an Apple device, then using iTunes on Windows is a major security risk. Apple iTunes has had more than 100 CVEs. There goes that word again. CVEs published, and is consistently in the top 10 most vulnerable applications each year. It is also commonly known that Apple users do not keep updating iTunes to the latest versions, which typically come with many security updates, or you could be using an outdated version that is also bundled with Apple QuickTime, which is listed as a top security risk with many existing exploits. So Apple iTunes for Windows, Adobe Flash, Apple QuickTime for Windows, and lastly, Microsoft Office 2007. So I know a lot of times we like to run these operating systems forever because Windows, Microsoft Word, Apple Excel, we get stuck on these programs, and as long as they work, we want to use them forever. With Microsoft Office 2007 about to officially end extended support in October 2017, and with mainstream support already ending in 2012, this means the end of life is coming for Office 2007. So if you are still using it, do not expect any further security updates, leaving it as a common target for many hackers and cyber criminals due to its high use across many organizations and consumers. Microsoft frequently provides many critical security updates, so it is always important to stay patched and up to date with the latest versions, and this makes moving away from Office 2007 more critical now than ever before. Office 2007 has very poor security, privacy, auditing, and sharing features, so while hackers targeted it, it also does not provide enough protection of the data. If you are using Microsoft Office 2007, it is recommended to upgrade to the latest version, blacklist these older versions, and remove them from your system. Okay? So take action now to minimize your risk. It is important that companies take a proactive approach to blacklisting and removing high-risk applications or applications that have entered end of life. They should be removed as they no longer get critical security updates to remove any major security flaws discovered, and it's inevitable hackers will target these as a result. Carolyn, when you get a chance, can you give me a glass of water? Thanks. That's my assistant and co-owner of DPL Surveillance Equipment. You'll be speaking to her whenever you call in to get assistance, either from me or her. Blacklisting applications is a method used to prevent the installation or running of such applications and are denied system access. Blacklisting should be used to target prohibited applications or applications that cause a significant high security risk to companies like those listed above. Be sure to stay safe out there and be cautious of the applications you let into your digital world and take the right measures to do so. Okay, so moving right along. Cards at risk as online skimming jumped 69%. So we're talking about credit cards that are at risk as a result of online skimming, which happens to be jumping up by 69%. Security researchers are warning that the number of e-commerce stores infected with credit card stealing malware has risen 69% over the past year, with many site owners failing to take action. I'm getting a little dry mouth here. So, Dutch researcher William de Groot found 3,501 online retail sites last year were infected with malicious JavaScript, allowing cybercriminals to siphon off card details to sell on the dark web. However, the figure has now jumped to 5,929, with hundreds of the stores having failed to spot or take action since November 2015. Excuse me. Victim organizations vary from car makers Audi, ZA, to government, NRSC, Malaysia, to fashion, Converse, and even NGOs are government organizations. Science Museum, for instance, is an NGO. The malware in question apparently uses multi-layer obfuscation to stay hidden and scans for popular payment plugins like PayPal and URLs featuring the word checkout. The group has actually found these 3 distinct malware families and 9 separate variants, indicating that multiple groups are involved. He traced some of the campaigns back to Russia. The black hats are taking advantage of the fact that many e-commerce site owners fail to keep software up to date, leaving vulnerabilities that hackers are only too ready to exploit. So, just for your information, you guys, your your home networks, your business networks, you need to get them scanned for vulnerabilities. And I was just taking a look at this particular company and running scans on my company networks and home networks called Trust Wave, TRUST. Wave is WAVE, and they give a very detailed, comprehensive list of all sorts of vulnerabilities for your website and for your networks, et cetera, et cetera. So if you think that your hosting company, if you're getting someone else is hosting your website, or if you're managing your own server and website, you don't want to leave this to doubt or chance. Make sure you know what the vulnerabilities look like. If it's PHP, ASP, WordPress plugins, et cetera, that are going to be, allowing hackers to crash your site, steal credit card information, etc. You want to get ahead of that before anybody else finds out about it. Okay. The researcher was submitted. The researcher has submitted his finding to Google's safe browsing team, but thus far only a small percentage of the detected malware is being blocked. So Google has a safe browsing team, and hopefully they'll get a chance to take a look at some of the findings from the group. John Babinak, he's a threat intelligence manager at Fidelis Cybersecurity, claimed that every day millions of scans are performed on sites looking for routine vulnerabilities that can be exploited to insert malicious code. Now, this is true. This is very, very true in terms of there's scripts that the hackers run on a daily basis, and they're searching the internet for vulnerable computers and operating systems, etc. And those scripts report back, and the malicious code identifies who's vulnerable, what you're running, and all that. And then at some point you're going to get malicious code inserted onto your computer and your operating system on your phone, etc. And it's going to, and a lot of times the code executes at the ideal time, and the vulnerabilities get taken advantage of, and there could be a significant delay. So don't think that just because you're not experiencing any problems that you're free and clear, okay? Because a lot of times these things lay dormant for months or years at a time, and before they're executed. To combat this new type of card fraud known as online skimming, commerce sites need to remain vigilant, he added. They can do this by scanning their own websites for Open Web Application Security Project, okay? That's Open Web Application Security Project, or OWASP. That's OWASP, top 10 vulnerabilities. Maintaining a web application firewall, such as mod_security, okay, which is free. So mod_security is free, and applying patches immediately. These steps may cost retailers in time, but over 90% of exploitations would go away overnight if implemented. Ryan O'Leary, vice president of White Hat Security's Threat Research Center, argued that around half of all retail sites have at least one serious security flaw present, which takes an average of 205 days to fix. And the existence of multiple vulnerabilities not only increases the total business risk that retail organizations assume, but also the risk that they pass along to users of their vulnerable websites, he says. So users get infected or get affected in addition to the companies themselves. By prioritizing the critical and high-risk security flaws for remediation, retailers stand a good chance of reducing the number of days that serious vulnerabilities remain open to attack. Okay, and moving right along, credit card scammers flock to online shopping. Use of stolen card data on internet climbs. Again, use of stolen card data on the internet climbs. No one is standing there to authenticate you. All right. Just like legitimate shoppers, criminals are buying more goods and services online with credit cards. The rate of online card fraud is rising sharply as a growing number of purchases take place on the internet, while brick-and-mortar merchants race to lock down vulnerabilities in the checkout line. That is prompting new steps to try to curb the threat. The credit card industry on Tuesday announced a plan to encourage online merchants to provide card issuers with more detailed customer information that can be used to catch fraudulent purchases. So, in my opinion, I don't necessarily agree that we merchants need to give credit card issuers and banks more information. I think tokenization, something called tokenization, is probably a better way to go in terms of what tokenization basically does. It takes a credit card number, the real credit card number, and it creates a pseudo card number that gets transmitted and changed each and every time you do a transaction. So I think tokenization which is basically the same principle of blockchain, which is normally associated with Bitcoin. The blockchain really takes information, scrambles it, transmits it, encrypts it, and it's decrypted and transferred along a secure blockchain network, and no one gets a chance to see the actual information because it's tokenized. And I think the industry is trying to borrow that, for instance, from the blockchain and such, but that is really the way to go as compared to giving credit card issuers more information, name, social security number, email, telephone number, all that. It's probably just going to give the hackers more incentive to breach databases and steal valuable information and sell it over the internet. The rate of online card fraud is rising sharply as a growing number of purchases take place on the internet, or brick and mortar merchants race to lock down vulnerabilities in the checkout line. Okay, I'm sorry. This sentence here is where we want to start off at. More than 7.5% of online merchants' revenue is eaten up by the cost of actual fraud and costs associated with fraud prevention tools. So that's 7.5%. Okay, of the merchant's revenue. According to a survey released Tuesday by Javelin Strategy and Research, a consulting firm that specializes in the payments industry, as the volume of e-commerce transactions increases, it becomes harder for merchants to discern between legitimate and fraudulent activity, according to the study by Javelin, a unit of Greenwich Associates, LLC. AITE Group, AITE Group, LLC, another consulting firm, they're saying estimated in May that so-called card not present fraud will rise to $4 billion this year from $3.2 billion in 2015. It expects that figure to jump to $7.2 billion by 2020. So we're going to go from roughly $3.2 billion in 2015 all the way up to $7.2 billion at least by 2020. As a result, online merchants and the card industry are scrambling to create products and procedures that can quickly identify fraudulent transactions when an unseen customer taps card information into a computer or mobile device. In card not present transactions, there are so many different kinds of merchants, and the fraud manifests itself in so many different ways that there really isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, says Julie Conroy, an analyst at AITE. Among other solutions, the card industry is touting technology called tokenization. There's that word again, where we substitute real information with something made up that changes for each and every transaction. This replaces card holder information, such as account numbers and expiration dates, with a unique series of numbers that validates the customer's identity. That way, hackers can't steal the actual data, card data, if a merchant's payment system is breached. And Tuesday, the industry introduced new standards for card issuers to put technology in place that will accept additional data from merchants who want to send information such as the customer email address, billing, shipping details to the banks as additional tools to verify that their purchase is authentic. Okay, I have to disagree with this particular paragraph right here. In terms of sending banks and credit card issuers more information about customers, I think we should be trying to send less information. That way we don't have this honeypot or this huge database saying, come breach me and steal everything that's in here. Because that just attracts hackers. That doesn't, that's not a disincentive when you have one centralized place where you can hack into and get everything out of there. So I disagree with that particular approach in that paragraph. Merchants now send only limited information to card issuers for authentication, such as the purchase amount and the name of the business. So I think less is better in this case. The growing problem of online card fraud comes at a time when criminals are increasingly being stymied at the checkout line. Computer chips that are embedded in credit and debit cards make it far more difficult for thieves to use stolen card data to create counterfeit cards. So they're saying offline, we're making progress, but online we still have a lot of catching up to do. In card not present or internet based, okay, in card not present transactions, no one is standing there to authenticate you, so it is the path of least resistance, says Tom Burns, Chief Marketing Officer at VistaCorp, a company that helps online merchants tackle fraud. Vista sponsored the Javelin study, by the way. Fraud is particularly fraud is particularly difficult for online merchants because they are on the hook to pay the cost of bogus transactions, yet they are also under pressure to deliver products to customers quickly. That is especially the case for merchants that sell digital goods such as music or video game downloads. Okay, so that's a particular problem right there that we need to get a handle on as far as what we're going to do about online transactions. Ransomware is booming and companies are paying up. This particular section here just talks about the idea that the ransomware amounts are not the largest dollar amounts, and companies are finding it more convenient and more compelling to just pay up and try to get the problem behind them. But we need to take a look at backing up data, and if worse comes to worse, you pay some money in Bitcoin, so you may want to figure out how Bitcoin works and set aside some money in Bitcoin just in case. But back up your data and take a look at some of the solutions that talk about how to detect ransomware when it's actually encrypting your files, doing certain things to your computers, and looking at those anomalies. Okay, so those are some of the main things. I'm going to put a lot of this information in the show notes, but those are some of the areas we wanted to highlight to make you guys aware of some of the impending cybersecurity related threats that we're encountering right now online. So make sure you understand that you keep your software up to date. IoT devices are going to have to be thrown out or replaced, and we want to have hopefully some sort of liability imposed upon manufacturers. That was one approach offered to remedy the problem with IoT devices such as DVRs and such. We need to take a look at holding manufacturers liable and developing a rating system probably, so that when you buy devices, there's some sort of rating system that's going to tell you how safe and secure that smoke detector is or that DVR, and then we can buy things and hopefully the manufacturers will be liable for if there's a problem with IoT devices getting hacked. Okay, we should like ingredients on a food label. Maybe there'll be some sort of simple rating system, so you can buy IoT devices based upon the level of security. If it's not very secure, you don't pay much at all for it. And if it's very secure, then maybe you can pay a premium, and that'll be high on your list as far as things to buy. So because there was a popular reporter on cybersecurity, his name was Brian Krabs. He actually was the target of one of the latest DDoS attacks, where dying infrastructure or domain name registrar was taken advantage of on the East Coast just last week, I think last week, and brought down a lot of servers, a lot of websites, Twitter. I think Amazon was affected. A number of sites were affected, and Brian Krebs was initially the target of that DDoS attack because he's a popular researcher. He exposed some things and cybersecurity and the cyber criminals weren't happy, so they took advantage of Brian Krebs because there was some online attack for hire services that he exposed, and he was taking advantage of. But that's one thing we need to take a look at. Putting more pressure on the manufacturers through the government, hopefully, to hold those guys liable when we buy IoT devices, whether or not they're routers, smoke detectors, DVRs, webcams. There should be a rating system. There should be liability or maybe extra warranty or insurance coverage that we can get on them, like an extended warranty that helps to cover just in case there's a problem with a product being breached or hacked into or something like that. So anyway, we're going to wrap up this particular session. We appreciate it when you guys join us in these particular sessions, and we're going to try to make additional information available in the show notes. The only thing we didn't cover was businesses and governments working together in the cybersecurity related efforts to share information, and then we could have covered, which we'll probably put in the show notes, aviation officials step up cybersecurity checks of older messaging systems. So airports, FAA, et cetera, they're using messaging systems, particularly in the United States, where the communication between the towers and the planes is an old, outdated, antiquated system, and that system needs to be updated because it's vulnerable to hacking. We're going to put this information in the show notes, but that's just something that we need to keep an eye on, and you can take a look at that. And in addition to the last thing, algorithm red flags potentially dangerous domain names at time of purchase. That basically talks about an algorithm that's going to look for bulk purchases of similarly named websites where hackers are buying tons of websites to use them for DDoS attack purposes. And a lot of times algorithms can detect when some cyber criminal goes out and buys 25, 50, 500 domain names that are similar, and they're used just for the sole purpose of doing DDoS attacks. There's different ways of detecting that. So we need to use more machine learning, more algorithms, more artificial intelligence to counter the idea that some of these things could be nipped in the bud if we're looking for the right things, okay? So anyway, as we always say at the conclusion of every particular session, bring a friend, enemy, relative, associate back to the next session, and share this information with everyone so they can be cyber safe. And this is our cat, Lazy Bones, and he doesn't want to cooperate, okay, for some reason. But there he is. So anyway, we wish you guys happy, safe surfing on the internet, and take care and share this out with others, and take care, sir. So if you have any questions, give us a call, 888-344-3742. That's 888-344-3742. Have a good day. Thanks. Carol, you want to say bye to the people?
Hi.
That's Carolyn, the other co-owner of DPS or Advanced Equipment. So you guys have a great day. Thanks. Take care. Bye.